Lily was just a 12-year-old girl, but she had already experienced more hardship than most kids her age. Her mother had been diagnosed with cancer, and the medical bills were piling up quickly. Her family had always been a close-knit group, but now, with her mother's illness taking a toll on everyone, things were changing. Lily couldn't just sit around and watch her mother suffer. She needed to do something to help. One day, while sitting on the porch, watching her mother rest inside, an idea struck her. She had always enjoyed baking cookies with her grandmother, and her mom had been her biggest cheerleader when it came to her baking skills. What if she could sell cookies to raise money for her mother's chemotherapy treatments? The thought of doing something to help her mom made her heart race with excitement. Lily wasn't one to sit around waiting for a miracle, so she immediately went to work. She went to the kitchen and started baking. She mixed the dough, rolled it into little balls, and placed them on a baking sheet. The smell of fresh cookies filled the house as the first batch baked in the oven. She smiled to herself, thinking that her cookies could make a real difference. At first, Lily wasn't sure how to start. She didn't have a lot of money to spend on advertising or fancy packaging, but she was determined to make it work. She decided to set up a small stand in front of her house with a simple sign that read, "Cookies for Chemotherapy." It wasn't much, but it was a start. When she first set up the stand, Lily didn't know what to expect. Would anyone stop and buy her cookies? Or would she end up with an empty stand at the end of the day? The first few hours were slow. People walked by, but not many stopped. She watched as her neighbors passed by, some glancing at the cookies, others not paying attention at all. But Lily didn't give up. She smiled and greeted everyone who passed by. Slowly but surely, the first person approached her stand. An older woman, with a kind smile, stopped and asked about the cookies. Lily explained that she was raising money for her mother's cancer treatments. The woman was moved by Lily's story and bought a bag of cookies. As the day went on, more people stopped to buy cookies. Some of them offered words of encouragement. Others gave donations. Lily felt her heart swell with pride as she realized that people were starting to believe in her mission. The thought that her small act could make a difference was powerful. By the end of the day, she had raised a small amount of money, but it felt like so much more. Lily was determined to keep going. She knew that every cookie sold meant one step closer to her goal. As the days passed, more people in the neighborhood started to notice her stand. Word spread, and soon, people were stopping by to support her. Some even came back for more cookies. Every small sale made her feel like she was getting closer to helping her mom. Lily knew that this was just the beginning. The journey would be long and hard, but she was ready. She had a dream to help her mother, and no matter what, she was going to make it happen. Lily woke up early the next day, eager to continue her cookie-selling journey. She had learned a lot from the previous day: how to talk to people, how to explain her mission, and how to make the most out of each sale. As she stood in front of her house, ready to set up her little stand again, she felt a sense of purpose. She wasn't just selling cookies, she was making a difference for her mom. The sun was shining brightly, and Lily could hear the sounds of the neighborhood waking up. She grabbed her wooden table and a small cloth to cover it, making her stand look a little more inviting. Her first batch of cookies had sold well, but she knew she needed to make her stand more noticeable if she was going to get more people to stop. After thinking for a moment, she decided to make a new sign, bigger and brighter this time. It read, "Cookies for Chemotherapy. Help save a life." Her new sign was eye-catching, and soon enough, people started to stop by. Some were familiar faces, neighbors who already knew about her mission. Others were strangers passing through. Lily greeted everyone with a warm smile, eager to share her story. As she handed out bags of cookies, she could see how her efforts were starting to have an impact. Each person who bought a cookie seemed to feel moved by her determination. But not every day was easy. Some mornings there were long stretches when no one stopped. Lily sat quietly, waiting and watching the world go by, hoping that someone would take notice. She began to worry at times, wondering if she was really making a difference. There were days when she wondered if she would ever reach her goal, but she kept her head high and stayed focused. Every small sale felt like a victory, and that made her want to keep going. As time went on, Lily realized she needed to keep her cookie flavors fresh and exciting. She started experimenting with different recipes, adding chocolate chips, peanut butter, and even a little sprinkle of cinnamon. The variety made her stand even more appealing. People started to talk about her cookies. Word spread quickly, and it didn't take long for her to have a regular group of customers who came by every weekend. She began to think bigger. What if she could sell her cookies online? Lily wasn't sure how to do it, but she knew she could figure it out. She asked her older brother for help, and he set up a simple webpage for her. Lily's cookies were now available for order, and she felt a rush of excitement as she imagined people from all over the world ordering them. Every day, she baked more cookies than the last, and the orders started to come in, slowly but surely. Though the journey was still tough, Lily could see progress. She wasn't just selling cookies anymore. She was building a community of people who cared. Her sales weren't just helping her mother, but they were also inspiring others to act with kindness and compassion. Every time Lily sold a cookie, she knew that she was doing more than just raising money. She was spreading hope, and that was the most important part of all. As Lily looked at the cookie stand, now busy with people chatting and buying cookies, she realized that this was only the beginning of a much bigger adventure. The road ahead was uncertain, but she was ready to face it, one cookie at a time. Lily's cookie stand had become more than just a way to raise money. It had become a part of her daily routine. She found herself waking up earlier each day, feeling more determined to make a difference. The support she received from the community kept her motivated, but she knew she still had a long way to go. Her mother's medical bills were still mounting, and the treatments were costly. Despite the progress, the road to raising enough money seemed endless. Every morning, she'd head to the kitchen to bake fresh batches of cookies. The warm, sweet aroma filled the house, and for a moment, it felt like everything was normal. But then Lily would remember why she was doing this, and the reality of the situation would come rushing back. Her mom still wasn't feeling well, and she needed those treatments to survive. Lily's heart ached with every thought of her mother's struggle, but she refused to let it stop her. She wasn't going to give up, not when she could still do something to help. As the days went by, Lily started facing more challenges. The weather wasn't always on her side. There were some days when it rained or was too cold for people to stop by. She'd sit at her stand, hoping for customers, but often she found herself alone. The empty hours felt long, and sometimes doubts crept into her mind. Was this really enough? Could she really raise the money her mom needed by selling cookies? On one of those slow days, Lily decided to get creative. She made a sign offering a Cookie of the Week special, something new and different to get people's attention. It worked. People started to take notice of her new flavors, and the variety of cookies brought in customers who wanted to try something different. Chocolate-dipped shortbread, lemon zest cookies, and even oatmeal with raisins became big hits. Every new flavor made her feel a little bit closer to her goal. But the money was still coming in slowly. Lily realized that she couldn't just rely on her neighborhood anymore. She needed a bigger platform, a way to reach more people. After talking to her brother, she decided to set up a small online fundraiser. She didn't know much about running a fundraiser, but her brother showed her the basics, and soon, Lily had a page where people could donate to her cause. She shared the link on social media and told her story to anyone who would listen. She wasn't sure how far it would go, but she hoped that it would make a difference. As the fundraiser grew, so did Lily's confidence. People from all over the world started donating. Some gave large amounts, others smaller, but every donation felt like a step closer to her mom getting the treatment she needed. It was amazing to see people who didn't even know her family coming together to help. Each new donation brought hope, and Lily felt more and more grateful for the kindness of strangers. However, even with the success of the fundraiser, the pressure to raise more money was always in the back of her mind. Lily knew that she had to keep going, no matter what. She began to balance her time between baking, running the fundraiser, and caring for her mom. There were days when it felt like too much, but Lily didn't complain. She couldn't afford to. Every cookie she baked, every fundraiser update she posted, and every person who stopped by her stand meant another step toward her ultimate goal. She knew that the road would continue to be tough, but Lily had learned something important. No matter how hard things got, she had the strength to keep going. And every time she sold a cookie, she was reminded of why she was doing this: to help her mom, to fight for her family, and to never give up hope. One bright Saturday morning, as Lily was setting up her cookie stand outside, something unexpected happened. She had been running her stand for weeks now, but this day felt different. The air had a certain buzz to it, and she couldn't help but notice that people seemed to be taking more notice of her cookies than usual. Little did she know, something was about to change her life completely. As Lily arranged the freshly baked cookies on her table, a black SUV pulled up to the curb. The driver rolled down the window, and a friendly voice called out, "Hey, are you the cookie girl raising money for your mom's chemotherapy?" Lily's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the voice. It was Will Smith, the famous actor. She stared at him in disbelief, unsure if she was imagining things. Will Smith, the man she had seen on the big screen countless times, was right in front of her. Will smiled warmly at her, sensing her surprise. "I heard about your story," he said. "You're doing something really incredible. I wanted to stop by and show my support." Lily could hardly believe it. She had always dreamed of meeting her idols, but she never imagined it would happen like this, while she was standing at her cookie stand, trying to raise money for her mom. She blinked a few times, trying to process what was happening, but Will just kept smiling, waiting patiently for her to say something. "You really heard about me?" Lily finally managed to say, her voice trembling with excitement. Will nodded and explained that someone had shared her story with him. He told her he admired her determination to help her mother and that he wanted to contribute. But he wasn't just going to buy a cookie. No, Will Smith had something else in mind. "Why don't I get a bag of your cookies, and we'll make sure more people know about what you're doing?" he suggested, pulling out his phone. "I'll post about it on my social media. I think your story deserves to be heard by a lot more people." Lily's mind raced. Will Smith, the actor who had inspired so many with his movies and his kindness, was standing here at her little cookie stand, ready to help her. She couldn't believe it. Before she even had a chance to respond, he had already snapped a picture of her stand and posted it to his Instagram, explaining her mission and encouraging his millions of followers to support her. Within minutes, Lily's phone started buzzing with notifications. People from all over the world were commenting, liking, and sharing the post. Donations poured in, and her cookie order skyrocketed. Lily's heart was pounding with excitement, and she felt overwhelmed by the sudden flood of support. But Will didn't stop there. He bought several bags of cookies, chatting with Lily about how proud he was of her for not giving up. He told her that sometimes, when things seem impossible, it's the small acts of kindness that have the biggest impact. Lily, barely able to hold back tears, thanked him for everything. She couldn't believe how much one simple gesture had changed everything. Will smiled at her again before getting back into the SUV. "Keep doing what you're doing, Lily. You're making a difference," he said. And with that, he drove off, leaving Lily standing there with a heart full of gratitude. As the day went on, more and more people came by her stand, all eager to buy cookies or donate to her cause. Lily couldn't help but feel like her dream was finally becoming a reality. Will Smith's support had given her the push she needed, and now, with so many people rallying behind her, she felt confident that she could help her mother through this challenging time. This was the moment that changed everything. Lily knew that this was only the beginning of something bigger, something that would not only help her mother, but inspire others to act with kindness and compassion. She smiled to herself, knowing that the journey ahead was still long, but now She wasn't walking it alone. The excitement from the unexpected visit had not worn off for Lily. In fact, it only grew stronger as the days passed. Will Smith's post had gone viral, and what seemed like a small moment of kindness had turned into a tidal wave of support. People from all over the world were reaching out, buying cookies, donating money, and sharing Lily's story. It was more than she had ever dreamed of, and it felt like the world was suddenly on her side. Lily had spent so many weeks focused on raising money for her mom's chemotherapy, but now it seemed like she was part of something much bigger. Her small neighborhood stand had transformed into a global movement. Every time she checked her phone, there were new messages from strangers offering their help. Some people even sent her care packages filled with supplies for her and her family. It was overwhelming in the best way possible. She couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for Will's kindness. He had done more than just promote her cause. He had inspired so many people to step up and show their support. Her mother, too, was touched by the outpouring of love. Every day, Lily would share the latest updates with her mom, who smiled through her treatments, proud of how strong her daughter was. Despite all the attention, Lily didn't let it go to her head. She kept baking, kept selling, and kept sharing her story with anyone who would listen. It wasn't about fame or recognition for her. It was about her mom, about making sure that she had the chance to keep fighting. But Lily did feel a sense of pride as she watched the donations pile up and the orders come in. The reality was starting to set in. She was doing it. She was raising enough money to help her mom. Her community had always been supportive, but now they were part of something even bigger. People who had never met Lily or her family were now involved in her mission. She received messages from cancer survivors who wanted to share their own stories, from doctors who offered advice and encouragement, and from people who were just moved by her determination. It was like a ripple effect that had reached across the world, uniting strangers for a common cause. The cookie stand became a symbol of resilience and hope. Lily's once small operation had become a place where people came not just to buy cookies, but to be part of something meaningful. It wasn't just about the cookies anymore. It was about the collective effort to help a family in need. More than anything, it was about people coming together to support each other in ways that went beyond what Lily had ever imagined. As the days went by, Lily felt a stronger sense of connection to the world around her. She wasn't just a girl baking cookies in her front yard anymore. She was someone who had sparked something much bigger than herself. Her mother's treatment costs were being covered, and every day, Lily's heart grew lighter knowing that her mom would get the care she needed. But Lily didn't stop. She continued to bake, continued to spread the word, and continued to keep her mom's spirit lifted. Her journey was far from over, but now she was no longer alone. She had the support of an entire world, and she had learned that no matter how difficult the path might be, kindness and determination could create a change that was far greater than one person could ever achieve on their own. Lily couldn't believe how much had changed in just a few weeks. What had started as a small effort to raise money for her mom's cancer treatments had blossomed into a global movement, all thanks to Will Smith's kindness. Every day, more people visited her cookie stand, more orders came in online, and more donations poured in. It was like a dream come true, but in many ways, it felt more like a mission that was finally gaining the momentum it needed. The money she had raised so far was incredible. It was enough to cover her mom's next few rounds of chemotherapy, and Lily's heart swelled with relief. Her mom, who had been so sick and weak, now had the strength to continue fighting, and that was all Lily had ever wanted. But there was still more to be done. Lily knew that she couldn't stop just because they had raised some money. Every little bit counted, and as long as she had the support of the people around her, she was going to keep going. What amazed Lily the most was the way people from all over the world had come together. Strangers had donated to her cause, bought her cookies, and sent messages of encouragement. Some even told her that her story had inspired them to help others in need. She had no idea that a simple idea of selling cookies could bring so many people together. She was just one girl trying to help her mom, but now it felt like she was part of a much bigger community. Her mother's spirits had lifted too. Every day, Lily would share the updates with her mom, and it made her smile to know how many people cared. Her mom, who had once felt so overwhelmed by the disease and the mounting medical bills, now felt a sense of hope. The money they needed for treatment was being raised, and for the first time in a long while, her mom felt like there was light at the end of the tunnel. But the support didn't stop with just donations and orders. Lily's story had sparked conversations about cancer awareness, the power of community, and the impact of small acts of kindness. Local news stations reached out to interview her, and soon her story was being shared across the country. She was invited to speak at events, and organizations offered to help her set up more fundraisers. The idea of simply selling cookies had turned into a movement that had the potential to change many lives, not just hers and her mom's. Even with all the success, Lily stayed grounded. She never let the attention or the praise distract her from her ultimate goal. Her mission was always clear: to help her mother. But along the way, she realized that her story was touching people in ways she hadn't expected. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the hope and inspiration she was giving to others. Every time someone told her how her determination had motivated them, Lily felt a sense of pride and accomplishment that went beyond what she had hoped for. As the weeks turned into months, Lily continued baking, hacking cookies, and running her fundraiser. The process had become familiar, but it never lost its meaning. With each batch of cookies she made, she was not only supporting her mom's treatment, but also reminding herself that nothing was impossible when people came together with love and support. Through all the challenges, Lily had learned that sometimes you don't have to do something grand to make a difference. Sometimes it's the small actions, like baking a batch of cookies, that have the power to spark change. And as long as she had the chance, Lily would keep doing it, one cookie at a time. As the days went by, Lily's life continued to change in ways she never imagined. What began as a small, hopeful idea had turned into something much bigger than herself. With the help of countless strangers and the kindness of Will Smith, Lily was not only raising money for her mother's chemotherapy, but also inspiring others to act with compassion and determination. It had become a journey of hope, one that was shaping her future in ways she never expected. But amid all the success, Lily's thoughts often returned to her mother. She saw how her mom's health had started to improve, thanks to the treatments, and it filled her with gratitude. However, there was still so much to do, and she couldn't afford to slow down. Every day, Lily woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. The energy of the people who supported her and her mother kept her going, no matter how tired she felt. One afternoon, just as she was setting up her cookie stand outside, she got a message that stopped her in her tracks. It was from Will Smith. He had seen the success of her fundraising and wanted to meet her in person. He was in town for a few days and would love to visit her to see how things were going. Lily's heart raced. She could hardly believe it. Will Smith, the man who had changed everything with his simple act of kindness, wanted to see her again. The thought of meeting him in person filled her with excitement and nervousness. It was a surreal feeling, and she wasn't sure what to expect. Would he just be a celebrity who came by to say hello, or was there something deeper he wanted to discuss? Either way, she knew it was a huge moment in her journey. The idea of sitting down and talking with someone who had helped make this all possible was overwhelming. A few days later, Will arrived at Lily's house. He was just as kind and down-to-earth as he had been the first time they met. When he stepped out of the car, he smiled at Lily and gave her a hug. "I've been so inspired by your story," he said, his voice warm and genuine. "You've done something incredible, Lily, and I wanted to see for myself how you're doing." They sat together at the table in her kitchen, and Lily shared everything that had happened since he posted about her cookies. She told him how the support had grown beyond anything she could have imagined. Will listened intently, his eyes showing nothing but respect and admiration for her. "I'm proud of you," Will said, his words hitting home. "You've shown the world what's possible when you don't give up, when you fight for what matters." Lily couldn't help but feel a rush of emotion. It wasn't just the success of the fundraiser or the amount of money raised. It was the fact that Will believed in her, that he saw her not just as a girl trying to raise money for her mom, but as someone who had changed lives. As they spoke, Lily realized that meeting Will had given her a new sense of purpose. It wasn't just about the cookies anymore. It was about sharing hope with the world, about showing that no matter how small your efforts may seem, they could create something extraordinary. Will's visit had solidified something in her heart: the power of kindness, determination, and community. It was something that could move mountains. The conversation ended with Will promising to continue supporting her cause, but what stayed with Lily was his belief in her. She wasn't just a young girl selling cookies anymore. She was someone who had the power to inspire change. As Will left, he gave her one last encouraging smile. "Keep going, Lily. You've got this." His words echoed in her mind long after he had gone. And Lily knew, deep in her heart, that this was only the beginning of something much bigger. She had come so far, and now nothing could stop her. She would continue to bake, to sell cookies, and to share her message of hope with the world, one step at a time. As the weeks passed, Lily's life began to settle into a new rhythm. The cookie stand had become a regular part of her daily routine, but it no longer felt like a burden. It felt like a mission, one that she was determined to see through, no matter what. She had a goal now, one that was bigger than just raising money for her mother's treatments. It was about spreading hope, kindness, and the belief that even the smallest act of generosity could spark something much larger. Her mother's health had improved significantly since the treatment started, and Lily could see the difference in her. The dark circles under her eyes had faded, and her once tired smile had returned. It was the most wonderful feeling to know that she had played a part in making that happen. But there was still more to do. The funds they had raised so far were only the beginning, and Lily knew that her work wasn't finished yet. Lily's story had spread far beyond her neighborhood. She had received messages and letters from people across the country, even from different parts of the world. Some wrote to tell her that they had been inspired to start their own fundraisers for various causes, while others simply sent their words of encouragement. It was overwhelming to think that her small act of baking cookies had touched so many lives. One of the most unexpected surprises came when Lily was invited to speak at a local community event. The organizers had heard about her story and wanted her to share it with a larger audience. At first, Lily was nervous. Speaking in front of a crowd was intimidating, but she knew that this was an opportunity to continue sharing her message. She wasn't just speaking about her own journey anymore. She was representing everyone who had supported her along the way. When the day of the event arrived, Lily stood on the stage, looking out at the sea of faces in the audience. Her heart raced, but as soon as she began to speak, everything felt natural. She told the crowd about how it all started, about her mother's diagnosis, and how she had come up with the idea to sell cookies. She spoke about Will Smith's unexpected visit and how that one act of kindness had changed everything. She shared how the support of strangers had made her believe in the power of community and the goodness of people. The audience listened intently, and Lily could see the impact her words were having. By the time she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. People applauded. Some even came up to her afterward to offer their support. It was humbling to see how her story had resonated with others. As the event came to an end, Lily couldn't help but feel proud. She had come a long way from the shy girl who had simply wanted to help her mom. Now she was someone who had sparked a movement, someone who had shown that even in the face of adversity, there was always room for hope. The journey had not been easy, and there were still challenges ahead, but Lily knew that she could face them head-on. She had the strength of her community behind her, and she had the unwavering support of her family. Every cookie she baked, every person who donated, and every story she shared was a reminder that no matter how small the effort, it could lead to something extraordinary. As she closed the chapter on this part of her journey, Lily felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had learned so much about herself, about others, and about the power of kindness. She knew that no matter where life took her next, The lesson she had learned would stay with her forever. The road ahead was still long, but Lily was ready for it, knowing that she had the power to make a difference. And that, she realized, was the most important thing of all.